Bonsoir à tous. Pour ceux qui ne me connaissent pas, moi c'est Bilal El Alami, je suis le président et le cofondateur de Pirates Lab. Déjà, merci infiniment à vous tous d'avoir répondu présent encore une fois de plus. Aujourd'hui, on a voulu tester un autre format. D'habitude, on fait des tables rondes, il y aura une table ronde. On fait aussi des sessions de pitch, mais ça me tenait vraiment à cœur de montrer à quel point l'écosystème est concret. Et pour ça, j'ai invité différents jeux jouables que vous pouvez expérimenter pour que ce soit vraiment zéro bullshit et qu'on puisse discuter vraiment du gameplay et pas de quelle est la proposition de valeur de la crypto en mode théoricien. Donc voilà le contexte. J'espère que vous allez passer un très bon moment. En tout cas, tout est fait pour. Et puis, avant de lancer la table ronde, je vais inviter nos collègues de chez Massa et de chez Agora à dire quelques mots. Ils ont eu la bonté d'âme de sponsoriser cet événement pour qu'on passe tous un bon moment. Voilà. Qui veut commencer ?
Allez, je vais démarrer.
À toi de jouer.
Merci beaucoup. Bonjour à tous. Un grand merci à Pirates Labs de nous avoir donné l'opportunité d'être là aujourd'hui avec tous ces acteurs et ces game changers de la GameFi. Donc pour vous présenter rapidement Agora. Agora, c'est une spin-off activity de Swissborg que vous devez connaître pour la plupart d'entre vous, qui est la plus grosse plateforme de wealth management en Europe, avec près de 700 000 utilisateurs, et Ultra, qui est une top tier gaming blockchain platform, qui a des gros partnerships avec AMD, avec Ubisoft et avec The Sandbox aussi dans la Web3. La vision d'Agora, c'est de devenir le premier all-in-one écosystème dans la GameFi et de réunir les guildes, les gamers et les investors au même endroit avec 3 core products. Donc le premier core product d'Agora, c'est un DEX, un échange décentralisé où les gens auront la possibilité d'échanger des tokens rewards, des jeux, directement sur le DEX. Donc c'est un peu comme un Uniswap ou un PancakeSwap, mais vraiment spécialisé dans le gaming. Le deuxième core product d'Agora, c'est une digital identity qui va permettre pour les gamers d'échanger directement leurs token rewards via l'interface du jeu. Et donc c'est très facile en fait à intégrer pour les jeux via un SDK. Et le troisième, c'est un launchpad qui va proposer à notre communauté de faire du early investment sur les jeux Web3 les plus prometteurs. Voilà. Donc on a bien avancé sur le développement. Le MVP du DEX sera prêt dans un peu plus de 6 mois. Le token sera lancé au même moment. Et en ce moment, on fait une collection NFT qui a été un gros succès parce qu'on a fait le premier mint lundi dernier, qui s'est vendu en 72 secondes. Voilà. Et la deuxième collection sera faite sur Ethereum dans une quinzaine de jours. Donc je vous invite à venir sur le stand si vous êtes intéressé pour une whitelist. Voilà. Un grand merci à tous d'être là. On est ravis de faire partie de l'aventure Pirates Labs. Et voilà, on espère vous voir sur le stand. Merci à tous.
Thanks. À toi.
Ouais, c'est pas grave. Hello, bonjour à tous. Donc moi c'est Adrien, un des cofondateurs de Massa Labs. Donc je suis très heureux aussi d'être là aujourd'hui. Merci à Pirates Labs de nous accueillir. Donc Massa, pour ceux qui ne connaissent pas, c'est une nouvelle Layer 1 qui est en construction. On a commencé le projet il y a quelques années. C'est une Layer 1 avec un gros focus décentralisation, mais avec des performances raisonnables pour l'adoption de masse. Donc on a quelques features qui sont intéressantes. On n'est pas forcément spécialisé pour le gaming, mais l'idée c'est de proposer quelques features. On pense que ça peut être assez intéressant pour le gaming. Notamment, on a des smart contracts autonomes. Donc pour ceux qui sont familiers de la technique, dans les smart contracts actuels, ils sont passifs dans le sens où un smart contract d'Ethereum va rien faire tout seul. Il faut qu'il soit appelé de l'extérieur pour faire une opération. Donc il y a pas mal dans la DeFi, dans le gaming, dans les NFT, il y a pas mal d'opérations qui sont en fait faites par des keepers, par des bots centralisés qui vont mettre à jour les positions des différents acteurs, aller liquider des positions sur des protocoles de DeFi qui sont sous-collatéralisés. Et nous, on propose d'automatiser toutes ces actions-là grâce à des smart contracts autonomes qui vont réagir à des événements on-chain, typiquement des variations de prix de crypto-monnaies, arbitraires des actions dans le temps, par exemple, décider de vendre plus tard une monnaie, de faire des paiements de manière régulière. On pense que ça a pas mal d'applications marrantes dans le domaine du gaming. Pour les NFT, on peut imaginer des NFT qui évoluent dans le temps de manière programmable, arbitraire, qui réagissent à des événements on-chain, qui peuvent se combiner automatiquement, qui peuvent débloquer du contenu suivant des actions qui ont été faites on-chain. Et on serait super content d'expérimenter avec des acteurs du gaming, parce que c'est un peu un sujet passion pour quelques développeurs chez nous et quelques fondateurs, pour tester des jeux, pour aller tester des jeux, par exemple fully on-chain. On a fait quelques prototypes, s'il y en a qui sont intéressés, on peut vous montrer de jeux complètement on-chain, de bataille de vaisseaux. Donc voilà, super heureux d'être là aujourd'hui et de découvrir ce qui se fait dans le milieu du gaming. Merci à tous d'être là et content d'échanger avec vous s'il y en a qui sont curieux de savoir ce qu'on fait chez Massa.
Merci messieurs, trop cool de vous avoir. Du coup, j'invite tout le monde à passer découvrir ce qu'ils ont à proposer dans leur stand. So now we're going to switch to English because the roundtable is going to happen in English. And we have a lot of international people. I'm sorry for the French. My bad. Otherwise, Jeremy, you can come over. And I will invite also our speakers, Max from Dogamí, my friend and co-founder, Dan, which one of the first person I met in the ecosystem, and Wafa, and Dunia, sorry. No, what's her name? Dunia, sorry. Welcome. Tiens, Jeremy.
Okay, right. I think we can sit. Hello everyone, thanks for coming. It's a great pleasure to be with you. So like Bilal said, I get to introduce Dan Beton, CEO of StarChain, Max Stockel, CEO of Dogamí, and Dunia Hadbi, product manager at Cross VHs. Do you have a mic? No. It's going to be easier like this. Max, take it. So I think I should ask this question. Does every one of you know what a NFT is? Like, raise your hand. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, it's gonna be easier. But I have to ask this other question, this question too. Video games existed way before blockchain and Web3. I'm in charge of Web3 at Le Journal du Net. Yet, I'm also the first to think that it's a buzzword. There's a lot of BS behind this word, and that blockchain doesn't solve everything. According to you, what NFTs bring to the games? Max, do you want to start?
Yes, I can. Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. I think the first point is digital ownership. So I think in first time in history, we have the opportunity to actually own assets digitally. And this comes with a multitude of benefits. And who has ever played a game like maybe World of Warcraft, Counter-Strike, or Call of Duty? You know that you can have in-game assets that are unfortunately in a closed loop within the game. And that's a big problem because you're always sort of at the discretion of those platforms. And I think sort of going forward, people should have the opportunity to trade, sell, and maybe even build on top of those NFTs, because NFTs are permissionless, meaning that everyone can take the standard and the data and do something with it. And I think that's really exciting.
Dunia?
I think he mentioned the most principal things. We want ownership. I'll be talking as a traditional gamer, as you were talking about. We like to have assets in game, skins, music, etc. But we like. The younger you are, the most you put money in this type of game. I think that parents all knows about Fortnite and all those skins your kids might ask you to buy, and these give a real value to what you. When you're putting money in a game, you're having the satisfaction because I'm playing with a skin which is very pretty, etc. But in terms of you doesn't have anything in exchange for that, and that's very important to me. That's the first thing. Sammy, the CEO of CrossAges, told me, you're putting a lot of money in the game. I was playing League of Legends, but what do you have in exchange? And I was like, well, it's funny, it's pretty, etc. But yeah, I do not have anything in exchange. Now I have the ownership of my character, or of it can be anything, and I can do whatever I want with, exchange it, sold it, sell it, or anything. So yeah.
Dan, do you want to add something? What can NFT brings to video games?
I think a lot have already been said, but I will kind of go a bit deeper in a specific topic. When you have a community in specific games, you can already kind of maximize the feeling that this community kind of owns a part of the game. And when you play an asset, so for example, any type of gamers, whether it's Dota 2, CSGO, or even League of Legends, you kind of build an emotional bond to the asset, and it's very important that gamers can feel that this asset is not at the mercy of the game editor. You kind of own a piece of the game, and you build the game alongside with the game editors.
Yet, historically, gamers had a lot of hate against NFTs and Web3. There's a lot of people here. It's great. Do you think that the state of mind is changing, is evolving?
I can take that one again. For me, it's a complete no-brainer that in-game assets should be NFTs. I mean, if you have the choice between sort of being able to sell something if you want to, and not being able to sell something if you want to, for example, or you just maybe want to gift it to a friend or whatever it is. I think there's no doubt about that. I think gamers are just a bit reluctant to change, and obviously they also hate sort of all the financial elements that come sometimes with these things. But fact of it is, they're just real. And yeah, maybe. What are your thoughts?
I think also we can mention the accessibility. Like when you don't have access to, for example, you don't know what's a wallet, what is the Polygon, Ethereum, all those words. So you need to firstly to learn, etc. And that's the things that for the moment is stopping of the web. I'll say Web 2 traditional gamer, call it as you want, and they're not able to change the model that they have. We're playing, we're putting money. It's simple, the simplest thing that we can do, and to move to a thing. Okay, I need an NFT. I need to create this, to buy this, to know this, to be aware of the scam and the bullshit that we have in the sector that we had previously more than today. So that's a thing I think that made the accessibility very complicated for them.
Dan?
So I think the main reason why we're receiving so much hatred from the Web2 gaming community is for simple reasons. The majority of games, usually in Web2, they are being sold or they acquire users based on the gaming experience. Now in the majority of Web3, and the way that it has kicked off, I would say since 2019, we kind of maximize the logic of the key selling argument was the technology behind the game. But if you ask any typical gamer when they play Fortnite, League of Legends, or any type of game, they never ask themselves what is the tech stack behind the game. The technology is not an argument to kind of sell an experience to any type of users, whether it's a consumer, luxury, whatever the industry. And the industry that I'm part of since 2015, we've always kind of put at the forefront the technology impact, or kind of the way that we utilize blockchain in solving issues. But in Web2 gaming, it's very different. What we need to do is make sure that we can have a smooth onboarding. Web2 industry, as she said, on the kind of accessibility, but I would say the main thing would be to kind of create a Web 2.5 experience. I would say the fantasy now for getting this Web3 mainstream in the gaming industry would be that gamers would not even understand that they are interacting with assets on-chain, and that they would kind of realize that their asset would have value at some point in time because they are playing the asset, and the asset is gaining experience, and it impacts the metadata of the asset. And it's kind of what we're doing at StarChain. We're trying to kind of bridge, I would say, this kind of a spread between Web 2 to Web 3 through gaming experience.
Your games are all at very different stages. You talked about communities. Web3 communities are very diverse, and some of them are interested with floor prices. Some of them care about games. How do you managing this? Max? Dunya? Max?
It's a very good question. No, it's fascinating because you have those users on board from the very, very first day. They buy into your sort of white paper. and they really like it's having shareholders. So it's like having a listed company on steroids, and I think that's quite interesting. And it's, you know, for example, I mean, I met some community members in Singapore. I had dinner with them. Like no other gaming company CEO would do that, and I think that it's really actually beautiful. That's nice, but also they hold you accountable. And so yeah, it's hard to find this balance between disclosing too much already in the beginning, because reality is you have to change sometimes because it might not work, but then you already have set expectations, and that is also like a communication masterclass that is really challenging in this space, in my opinion.
He basically said what I wanted to say, but the community are like following a promise that you make to them. They're like having a vision that they're entering into your game as a promises, as an investor, and they're believing in what you can offer, etc. So I think it's more like you're building something and you're going to a place that you might be able or not to attend, to go to. But yeah.
Was it important for Cross VHs? I don't know whether or not people know this, but Cross VHs is built on novels, yeah. And is the community important for the lore, for this narrative?
That's why it was a bit complicated for me to ask your question, because what people at the first place on Cross VHs believe into, they wasn't believing. They was reading the book. They was like liking some character or liking some specific situation or liking the what's behind also the story, which is very important. So that wasn't a point that we had. People were already like seeing themselves into Cross VHs, into the lore, the universe, etc. Then we go with the illustration, the different card, the graphism, the people, the artists behind all that, and then we went to the game. So we're giving them a 360 experience. You have the lore, you have the game, you can do everything you do actually in a like traditional Web2 game. You have the experience firstly, and then you're talking like I'm buying an NFT, I'm doing investment, I'm buying token, etc. That's, well, I'll say a side part of Cross VHs, because firstly you're playing to a game.
Max, and I know that Dogamí is building a real brand. You know, there's a lot of stuff which was published recently about comics books with Valiant. Is the community a part of this, and are holders a part of this?
Yeah, totally. So maybe for the people who are not familiar with Dogamí. So Dogamí is two things. I'd say first, it's a virtual companion, a dog that lives on blockchain that can be used in different applications and metaverses. So for example, we have a partnership with Sandbox. And the second thing is it's a cross-media brand, meaning that a bit like Pokemon or Frozen, so you start off with one branch of media, in our case gaming, but then you branch out into like comics, video, maybe even merchandise, and these things. And this is how like an IP becomes really big, and this is how we want to be successful in the next 10 years. And to answer your question, I mean, yes, because the community steadily gives us feedback, and you obviously have to give them, my opinion at least, you have to give a bit of direction first, and then sort of get the feedback. And the good thing is you'll get feedback whether you want or not.
Dan, we didn't tell this, but your game is Time Reachers. It's at the pre-alpha stage. Can I say this? Yeah. How do you plan to bring a community around this game?
So planning to kind of so you're speaking about the acquisition logic.
Yeah.
Okay. So as a lot of games, we're kind of targeting a specific audience, so casual to mid-core. Now we're kind of targeting both Web3 gamers and Web2 gamers at the same time. The current logic is that once we launch, we kind of start focusing on Web3 to kind of do a test run, check a bit how the kind of the gamer and how the gamer perceives the gameplay, whether they like it or not, whether the balancing is good or not, and then the more we'll kind of build confidence about the IP, the brand, the marketing, and the game, I would say, as a kind of a gameplay experience, will kind of branch out to, for example, the Web2 world. So our go-to-market will try to release the game in September. It was kind of a back-to-school kind of a launch with Gamescom, E3 in Los Angeles, GDC, TwitchCon, and kind of Paris Games Week. Our goal is to be connected with the market and try to kind of go at the forefront of it and display what we have built, I would say also proudly during a kind of a year and a half. But as any gaming audience, like the more you kind of release what you do, the more you kind of go to the audience, you promote what you do through testing, through getting your community involved in how you build through the, I would say, the production process, the better the kind of the loyalty of the community will kind of spread out through an organic reach within the gaming industry.
Right now, you're currently building on Neo protocol,
Yep.
while Dogamí is on Tezos, and CrossVHG's Polygon, Ethereum. Sorry, IconX, Immutable X. Can you explain the choice of Neo?
Yeah, of course. So, so when we started building the product, so we kind of branched out a bit. We compared the different chains. We actually started on Immutable X, to be honest. So we discussed with the BDs at IconX. We as well discussed with Sky Mavis, Alexander, the founder of Axie. It's to the consumer, to the end consumer, it shouldn't matter what chain you are building on. It's as well kind of a tech stack logic. Like it's for them, they like would actually never care. For Web3 native, it's different, and that's why for Web3 native, what we'll do is we'll start with Near because we have been receiving a lot of support, not financially, but really kind of technically and even like connecting us with a serious ecosystem, VCs, and so on. So we've received a lot of support from Near, so we kind of decided to go with Near, and as well for the TPS logic for sure. But we're releasing content in between seasons that will go on Polygon and then on Avalanche and then on different kind of EVM agnostic blockchains. So we're going to adopt a cross-chain kind of go-to-market logic to make sure that we can leverage communities on specific chains. But for Web2 markets, it shouldn't matter what chains are we on. They can explore different content and switch from one chain to the other. Everything should be seamlessly into the game, like not letting them kind of go into bridges and do the transition themselves outside of the product.
And I think this is really interesting because right now there are so many blockchains and there's hardcore fans of such blockchain or another one. You're right, it shouldn't matter. Is it a challenge for both of you to build on a specific blockchain? And do you plan to go cross-chain in the future? Max, maybe?
Yes, so we are in Tezos right now. So yeah, I mean, we also we do want to do cross-chain, but as you mentioned previously, like to the consumer, it really doesn't matter. When I'm on Facebook, I also don't care whether it's hosted on AWS or in Google Cloud. So I think that's going to be the end state, obviously. But the sort of blockchain choice is very important for the cold start because you want to have support, etc. And for that, the choice is important. But yeah, cross-chain is the future for sure.
Dunya.
As for us, you mentioned at the beginning Polygon. It wasn't full settle because we began with Polygon because our idea was to propose assets from digital to NFT with the minimum fees for the player, and then we switched to IconX for the technology and everything, all the project that we had for the box, etc., to be according to what we wanted to do. So IconX was the technology the more appropriate for Crazy Ages. In terms of future, I'm not the one liking to put some links, etc., of the project that we want to do. But I believe myself, not talking as a member of Crazy Ages, but I believe at the other side that being cross-chain, sorry, is basically what we should go on, if I can say. So yeah.
Okay, all right. to go back to the NFTs, are royalties an important part of your business model? Right now, it's a question. You sold NFTs with Dogamí, you sold NFTs too with Cross VHs. Then I don't know if you haven't sold anything yet.
Yeah, we'll have NFTs for sure.
Okay, you will have. Are royalties important for you, for both of you? You raised money. You raised $12 million. Dogamí, I can't remember, but it's an important sum. Still, are royalties a part of this?
Okay. For cross ages, is mostly about an experience. So basically, when you start to play the game, not today, but during the general access, it will be like playing to a traditional game. You came, you have a training deck. The more you're playing, the more you're gaining to get token in game. The more you're going to have chest and card, etc. So we're not even talking about money or NFT at this step. But my opponent is going to have some animation of cards, some cards which are prettier and some effect that I don't have. So I am going to buy an NFT without even knowing I am buying an NFT. I'm just buying a card with an animation. So it's kind of, we're trying to, I was talking about accessibility. We're trying to support the player to go to this model and to show to him how important is it, and then he will be able to have his own asset, ownership, etc. We mentioned it before. So that's the path Cross Ages choose for that.
Max.
Yeah, I think it's definitely an interesting sort of revenue stream for projects. And in a way, when royalties are high, then you know that there's like engagement and there's movement in the market, which is per se good, because then it means people are trading, etc. And obviously we want to encourage that, because it's just nicer when you strategize with your friends what you can buy and what you could trade. And doesn't mean that they have to buy those NFTs in the first place. They could also just get it in, maybe through achievements in game, etc. So that some value sticks to them, which I think is a really nice component that's envisionable.
I would say on the royalty question, it's for us, it's more kind of redistributing kind of the value that is being created by the audience. So there's kind of several ways to do that. What we have focused on for now, and it's kind of projections for sure, but we kind of tend to put an emphasis on NFTs. So the more you play the NFT, the more they kind of gain in experience, the more the metadata change, the more the kind of the market evolves with it. And our goal is that the more you play an asset, the more it will kind of reach a precise amount of value to other users. So first, I would say the first redistribution of revenue will be toward kind of playing assets and making sure that they can increase in value through games. And then as every game editor, if you have a turnover, if you gain revenue, it's because you have users that are kind of creating this value for you. What we wish to do is basically redistributing a part of the revenue through very competitive scenes. So kind of redistributing through tournaments, PvP, skill-based, but it's kind of a ladder system where we try to incentivize people that are kind of try-harding the game and kind of as an MMO scene, kind of factions versus factions type of gameplay. So it's all about competitive gameplay for us, and how do we wish to redistribute a part of royalty, but it's more kind of a rewarding system.
If I may add. So I think right now there's a lot of, even in this discussion, right, there's a lot of focus on value and money, etc. And that's a challenge in the space right now, because talking again about expectations, I think the first motivation for players should be fun and entertainment, and then sort of secondary to that is, and then maybe community, and then should be money, I think. Because otherwise you always have this sort of toxic competition that this may cause. And then this is in conflict with gaming. I mean, why do you game? Because you want to escape reality and you want to have fun, rather than, thinking about, I could make so and so much money there and there. So yeah, I mean, there's obviously different player groups, but it's something to keep in mind.
And it's funny you mentioned that, because there was this trend with the play to earn and with Axie Infinity, and all your games can be free to play. Is it the model Was it obvious to you?
It was in the sense that the model we all know today. Like years ago, we were playing with a game that we were buying, and then we had the opportunity to play it with our PS4, PS3 or 2, etc. Now we more on a vision. I'm talking only about mobile game and PC game mostly. We downloading a game, we're playing with it, and if we like it, we're going to add some equipment, skins, etc., etc. So it's mostly like if you like to play the game, and in the mobile industry mostly, because CrossAge is mostly for mobile version, if you want people to play your game, why would it be like not free and accessible to all? That's something we're working on, yeah.
All right. Yeah, you don't have to.
Whatever. Yeah.
Then when we talked earlier, I don't know, it was Monday maybe. We talked about what could be improved in this relationship with between Web3 and video games. You mentioned playability, usability. Is it still the main challenge according to you?
Yeah, for me, it's definitely the main challenge. Providing a fun gaming experience that would definitely suit, I would say, a Web2 audience. If you look at the gaming industry today, you have the majority of the most played games that are free to play. If you look at Fortnite, Apex Legends, League of Legends, the majority of those games are free. There's no kind of pay-to-win mechanics. And in the majority of the Web3 the Web3 industry and the way that it has evolved, so not talking about like specific games, but in 2019, 2020, the majority of games, the audience was asked to kind of be monetized and then enjoy the game, meaning that you have kind of you had that barrier of buying the NFT and then accessing to the in-game features, and that was very problematic because you ask the gamer to be monetized before being convinced by either the game mechanics, the gameplay, the experience, the lore, the narrative, the entire experience. And today we're seeing the industry evolve into a much more gaming experience focused in a position to focus on the monetization of the audience and then letting them enjoy what you have built as a game.
Yeah, I think there's going to be sort of a tendency towards like a play-to-own model, where you have to sort of play some time and then you can convert it into an NFT. That's sort of natural, and yeah, other than that, nothing to add.
Dunya, nothing more?
Well, they completely think. Are you like playing to a game, or are you having like a monetary moment? I'll say that's basically the challenge that we always had in the Web3 industry, and that we have today. We don't accept the project that are merging, etc. I'm talking about real game. You don't have any game. You have an experience when you're having assets, etc. But you're not playing to anything. You haven't got any scenarios, any everything we have in the classical game. You were talking about IP, something very important when you're playing to a game, a lore, a story, a universe, something to get attached emotionally or whatever to when you're playing a game. When the basic thing is like, I'm having a day, I'm working, etc. I want to escape myself in another universe, or I don't know, I'll be playing a game. Actually, it's more like, I'm going to play this game to have asset, to gain money, etc. So it even add a sense of pressure, I'll say, to the model that we have. So yeah, it's definitely the challenge we have.
Can you tell us with how many artists you worked with on Across the Ages?
Yeah, sure. We're working with 100 of artists. There are concept artists from well, it's very exciting to say it, but from Game of Thrones, Marvel, League of Legends, that's the thing I'm the most proud of, Harry Potter, etc. We are also working with, so you mentioned the book we're writing, so we're also working with 6 script and authors who are big name of the French literature. So it's kind of very, you're having all those different experience. Some of them are coming from Marvel and DC Comics, for example, and they're all working on the same project. So it's kind of complicated in the sense that you don't have the same synergy for every card. Don't look like the other, etc. But it's also what we want to have is this variety of styles, and everyone should be able to identify themselves on. So yeah.
Okay. Was it also one of the reasons why Dogamí is launching, publishing soon comics?
Yeah, so IP is extremely important. I mean, you need to have a rich backstory, some characters, good guys, bad guys, so something that people can relate to, and you know, that's when you build real fandom, because I mean, just putting dogs there won't really cut it for the long run. Let's put it that way. And we have a chief brand officer, Chris, who is also co-founder, who's really just thinking of how we can build this IP and how we can build Dogamí into something that's bigger than just a Web3 game. And from the very beginning, we said we want to be mainstream and we want to be mass market, and that's what we're up for.
Okay, I know this is quite early for you, Dan, but have you imagined how big could be Ten Riches?
We can always
in terms
dream.
of IP,
yeah, exactly. We can always dream of having, I would say, one of the biggest IP, but for sure, what we really hope is to have kind of I would say, a modest user base that kind of grows alongside the kind of us implementing new lore, new content, new gameplay, and for sure building the content with them. So we are kind of very new to I would say to the market compared to Dogamí and Cross the Ages, but definitely IP is one of the most important things. I still kind of remember the first teaser that Bilal sent me when they kind of worked on Dogamí. Everyone was kind of very amazing. And I think lore shouldn't be undermined when you speak to a gaming audience, and that's one of the major kind of hooking argument that will kind of build this emotional bond between a loyal customer base that will kind of want to deep dive into this immersive experience.
And does the community has also its room to make this IP evolve, to make it bigger? How can it help?
Good question. So what we see is like a few drawings of people, some input. People even send over like game concepts. It's amazing. Like community contribution is incredible. So we had last night I think it was last night, like a keynote on Tuesday. And within 12 hours, one community member sent like a 2-page PDF summarizing everything, making suggestions, It's incredible. Yeah. So you get a lot of input.
Do you have also a lot of activity from the community, Dunya, with Cross the Ages?
Well, in terms of IP and lore, etc., no, because it depends only on the authors and different artists working on that. But something very important that we didn't mention is that NFT also allowed you to have this creation of other things, meaning, for example, if you were playing to World of Warcraft, you had all these open source things, or Mario Maker, I think it was the name. So you were creating your own like space, your own things, etc., because it was allowed to. But most of the game you cannot. For example, if I want to create, I don't know, a game with, for example, sorcerer and a big school, for example, from the universe of Harry Potter, it won't be allowed because this IP is from Harry Potter and J.K. Rowling. It cannot be to anyone. But with the NFTs, you have, and we can go to a way that we can create. If I have the NFT, I don't know, of Solis from Cross the Ages, is the big queen of the magician sorcerer. If I have it, I maybe can be able to create, I don't know, another backstory that she had in the past. She maybe has it and this, and I'm able to create that. I'm able to create this mini fan game, I'll say, because I have the NFT of this character. So it can, I think, Web3 can also allow us and allow the community to have all this liberty of creating things around the project.
All right. Yeah, Max.
Yeah, so that's a very good point. The permissionlessness again. There was a nice example of Bored Ape Yacht Club. So I hope everyone knows Bored Ape Yacht Club. And they had a sewer pass, which is like an NFT that costs, I think, more than 2K, right? Yeah. $2,000 right now. And the sewer pass entitles you to play like a mini game, and whoever has the best score in this mini game wins something massive. No one knows what, but something massive. So what people did is they had a sewer pass and they built a web platform on top of it that basically allowed different peoples to queue up to play with that sewer pass. and then play the game. And whoever wins the highest score then gets the bonus. And they split the revenues. So this is pretty amazing in the traditional world, and I think this is just the beginning.
On another sad topic, and we're running out of time, regulation. You know, it's a kind of blurry landscape. There's some questions about loot boxes and stuff like this. Is it a challenge to build in this landscape for you? What do you think about this, Dan? Do you think about it when you're building temperatures?
Yeah, for sure. So we're building something that is not yet regulated in the majority of countries all over the world. But as the majority of people that kind of were involved with cryptocurrencies since the very beginning, I've done an ICO in 2017 at a time where no regulation were kind of established for us to raise money, operate, I would say, a token, a digital asset. And I would say the main important thing is to kind of refer to legal grounds. So today we are in a society where you have kind of legal systems already in place, and you need to refer and kind of auto-regulate yourself, self-regulate your product toward being very compliant to whatever is the closest to you. And so, for instance, in the majority of our games, whenever you know that there's kind of in RNG or in gacha system, you have kind of a thin line between gambling and non-gambling items. So you need to kind of make sure to not fall into this trap and kind of make sure to auto-regulate yourself. And when regulation comes, then you need to... So regulation is based on innovation. So whatever we push to the market, the legal bodies that will try to regulate what we're currently doing will piggyback onto what we have build regulation with us. It's what is happening currently with Ubisoft, with Sora in the French government. And I would say the more we try to be compliant, the better it will be. And for us, I think for everyone, it's not I would say it's not a concern, but we definitely should kind of look on seek news on what's happening and try to collaborate as well with legal bodies entities.
Personally, I think it's very exciting because you know that you're so early in the space that there's no rules yet, like no formalized rules, and that you can actually work with regulators and can make yourself heard. But yeah, you mentioned a good point. I think applying some common sense, not facilitating money laundering, not having roulette or whatever in your game, goes a long way. And yes, it is a concern because usually violating gambling rules is not a minor offense, so you need to be careful. And in worst case, you get banned or you get fined. So you should be mindful of that. But I mean, I think most games are skill-based, and people, and gamers in particular, demand skill-based games. Like no one wants pay to win, and no one wants just money games, because then they would just play the lottery anyway.
Dunya, same.
I think there is not much to add to all this, but definitely it is a challenge, and we're facing it as game, etc. But yeah, we having I'll say the chance in France, for example, to have strong project, different project of games, etc. So as you were completely saying, and I'm just repeating, we have this ability to the regulation exists, but we have this ability of improving it, I'll say, and adapt it to our system, and with compliance and with working with them.
All right. Before concluding, Dunya, tell us what we should expect from Cross the Ages. What's the next step?
Well, actually, Cross the Ages is in early access, so it is available for people who buy the premium pack NFTs. But as I said, the objective is to have accessibility for everyone. So in no much time, I won't say the date exactly, but in no much time we will have the general access, so open to everyone with this digital general pass that are mentioned. And well, this is only the first thing. The TCG is only the first step. It is only our open door, I say. So the book, the first game, and the other game that we're preparing, I'll say only 2 words: role and arena, if I can say that.
Right.
So basically what we wanted to have is, as Game of Thrones, as Harry Potter, to have everything available for everyone as games, cinema, series, we're building an IP, so we'll go through it.
Max, what about Dogamí?
Cool stuff coming up. We're working on different features in the marketplace, like breeding this year. Then we're really polishing the user experience so that the goal is that our parents can buy an NFT with credit card and just start playing. Then, most importantly, the second game, Dogamí Academy, which was teasered this week. And then we also will be publishing a comic book soon, which sort of, describes the beginnings of Dogamí. And for that, we work with Valiant Comics, which is a very famous American comic company. So yeah, these are only 4 of the points, but more to come.
Should we expect music like a dog bang or something like this?
Yes. Also, we're talking with some labels.
All right. Dan, time reaches.
So in 2 to 3 weeks, we will be releasing kind of a pre-alpha, so tune into our Twitter account, but it's kind of only the core gameplay. In June, we'll be releasing on testnet, kind of a vertical slice of the game. And in September, kind of August to September, we're releasing the game on mainnet, and it's going to be our V1 main launch.
All right. Thank you all 3 for your time. Thank you, Bilal. Thank you, Uda. Thank you, all the Pirates Labs team. It was great. Thank you, Massa. Thank you, Agora. And thank you for coming. It was great. Thank you.